This conference will now be recorded.
In yesterday's session, we were discussing about what is S3 bucket and how to create S3 bucket and how can we upload files to S3 bucket. And we were discussing about what is public access. Yesterday, we have uploaded some file to this S3 bucket. So I have one S3 bucket here. I have one S3 bucket here. In this S3 bucket, I have some file. By default, public access was denied. Public access was denied. So to make this object public, we have done something. There are two things here. One is ACL, another one is bucket policies. Bucket policies. So what is the full form of ACL in S3? Access control list. Access control list. So by default, is it enabled by default? ACL by default, it was disabled. And also what they were saying, it is recommended also, which is recommended also. Why they are recommending this ACL to be disabled? Because if I enable ACL and if I am not using bucket policies, do I need to manage permissions at individual object level? Suppose I am uploading one more object here. I am uploading one more object to this file, one more data. Let's say I am uploading one more file here to that S3 bucket. I'm uploading one more file to S3 bucket. That can be any file. Let me upload some file. That can be any file, maybe our syllabus copy itself, let's say. I'm uploading some file like this. Now, I uploaded this file. As of now, that bucket has how many objects? Two objects. Now, this object, am I able to access from public? Even I am also public because I'm accessing from internet. Are you guys able to access this file? Whatever I'm giving here? Yes. Now I have one more object in that bucket. Just now we uploaded. This is also one file. This is my URL. This is my URL. Now, am I able to access that object again? No. So I already enabled the public access in my bucket level, but still why I am not able to access this file again? I already made that object that bucket public. Why I am not able to access this one again? ACL is enabled. ACL is enabled. That's why at a bucket level, do I have a ACL enabled? If you see, go to the bucket permissions. Is that ACL enabled? Access control list. It is enabled. This is enabled. You can see object ownership. It is enabled. ACL is enabled, but object, that object, is it public at an object level? Is this public? If you see, let me select this object. That is not public as of now. Do I need to make this public to access again? This object. Again, I need to make it public like this. Once this is made public, am I able to access now? Yes. If I am using ACL, access control list, I need to manage permissions at an object level, not at a bucket level. So if I have thousands of objects, I am uploading thousands of files in this bucket. Is it possible, or is it a best way to manage permissions at an individual object level rather than bucket level? If I have a thousands of files, do I need to come here and make public, disable public like that? Is it possible if I have a thousands of files in that bucket? No. So that's why they are saying ACL is not recommended. Instead of ACL, what they are trying to say? Instead of ACL, disable ACL, you can use bucket policies. Bucket policies. So this is again permissions. This is again permissions. I can give different types of permissions, public access, anything. Now let me show that. I don't want to enable ACL now. What I will do? I will disable ACL. Go to the bucket, that S3 bucket, go to the permissions, object ownership. I will disable ACL. I have disabled ACL, but these objects are already made it public. The moment I disabled ACL, is it again blocked? Even though I enabled public access on the bucket, again is it blocked? Yes, because I have disabled ACL. Whatever permissions has been granted using ACL, that is again not working. Now, using bucket policies, there is a one more concept here, bucket policies. Bucket policies. This one, bucket policy. Using bucket policy also, can I grant permissions? I mean to say, can I make those objects public again using bucket policies? Yes. So it is in the JSON format, guys. These bucket policies will be in the form of JSON format. Now, let me show you. As of now, do I have any bucket policy? No. So let me create a bucket policy by clicking on this edit button. It is giving some kind of a help also. The way we have a pipeline syntax generator in Jenkins, the way we have a pipeline syntax generator in Jenkins, do I have a policy generator link also here to generate a policy? Yes, you can use that generator, or if you are already know about how to write a policy, you can write on your own. But before I go there, let me explain one thing here. ARN. There is one concept called ARN. ARN. What is ARN in AWS? Sometimes in the interview also they will ask. What is ARN in AWS? What is the full form of ARN here? Amazon resource name. Amazon resource name. It's a unique way. It's a unique name to identify AWS resource. AWS resource or AWS service, I can say, or resource. It's a unique way to identify AWS resource or service, I can say, globally. So it will be in this format. This will be in this format. ARN, AWS, something like this. If you see here itself, ARN, AWS, service type. What type of service? Service type, region, availability zone, and also name or ID of service or resource. This is how it is there. Now, if you observe ARN, when I am trying to create a bucket policy, here itself it is showing what is the bucket ARN. Bucket ARN. So these ARNs will be used in the policies, suppose I want to grant permissions, do I need to know on which resource I want to grant permission? Does AWS need to identify you are creating a policy? This policy is for which resource? Does AWS need to uniquely identify your resource, on which resource you are granting the permissions, on which service you are granting the permissions? So to uniquely identify that resource, what is used in the policies? Permissions, ARN. Now this is the ARN of that bucket. Here itself it is giving. If you see, this is the ARN of that S3 bucket. ARN, AWS, service type. So this is what service, what type of service? This one basically S3. So S3. Then if you observe, region name and availability zone is not mandatory. It's empty for S3 ARN. Why? Why it is not mandatory and why it is empty? Because in complete AWS, irrespective in which region, in which availability zone, do we have any S3 bucket with the two buckets with same name? No. It's a global. Globally, does AWS can identify this bucket where exactly it is residing, in which availability zone or which region? That doesn't matter. Yes. Like this, for each other service also, do I have a ARN for IAM user also? Like this. Do I have a ARN for EC2 instance also? Like this. Will I have a ARN for ELB? Will I have a ARN for auto scaling group? Like this. Each service will have a ARN. So can we use these ARNs in the permissions policies to grant whom you are giving access for that resource? Yes. Now this is ARN, Amazon resource name. Now we have this ARN. Now you can use this policy generator. Everything will have a ARN, guys, to identify uniquely. To identify uniquely, each service will have a ARN. Now here I'm talking about policy examples, policy generator. Now with this policy generator help, can I create a policy? So for which you are trying to select policy. Here my current requirement is for which one? S3 bucket policy. Now there are two things here, effect allow or deny. Allow or deny. Now if I want to allow, so what is the effect I have to select? Allow. Principal. Principal in the sense whom, for whom you are granting the access. From whom you are granting the access. Suppose if I want to grant for everyone, can I give star like this? Principal star, which means whom you are granting the access. So if I want to grant everyone public access, can I give star like this? Yes. Now, what permissions? Service is S3, what permissions? Suppose if I want to give only read-only permissions, read-only in the sense they can just read the objects. They can only get the objects. They cannot delete objects. They cannot upload objects to this S3. Can I select only those permissions like get object, get object? Here we have a permission, get object and list object, get object and also list object, something like this. Now I'm selecting only these permissions for anonymous public access. Now can I give that ARN here, whatever ARN I have for this one, for that bucket, I can give that ARN here. Now if I click on this, it will generate a policy like this. It will generate a policy like this. Now click on this generate policy. This is generated like this. If you already know how to write a policy, can I write here itself instead of depending on this one? Can I write here itself? Here itself? Or if you know here also how to handle, choose service. For which service I want to choose S3. Whether you want to give all permissions, I don't want to give all permissions. Here also you can see, I want to give get object, I want to give list object, list object, something like this, list object. Somehow it is not showing here, maybe that is fine. So I can give something like this here. Principal, I can give star. Principal is star. Now this resource, under resource section, can I give ARN of that bucket? We already generated like this, guys. Already we generated like this here. So I can copy paste this one also there. Something like this. Now here, remove, something is wrong here. 1 second. I can give something like this also. What this represents? Let line number 1, there is an error. One second. That JSON, let me do the JSON validation. Okay. What is the problem here, guys? JSON, one additional, this is missing. This is in a JSON format, right? So this is missing. Let me do like this. Now this is correct. Now if you want to get some samples also, here you can see policy examples, samples, right? So here I'm granting this anonymous access, granting read-only permissions to any user, anonymous access, something like this. Same thing, something like this. I just copy paste. I can copy paste this one also. Can I replace that ARN here? This is just sample given by bucket, this AWS, granting public access to anonymous user. So can I copy paste and update as per my requirement? Here can I update my ARN like this also if required? Yes. So I can give like this. What this star represents? Again ARN slash star. So what this star represents again here? Is this permission? Is this policy applicable for all the objects in that bucket? All the objects. This is bucket slash star. All the objects in that bucket. So whom you are giving? Whom you are giving, that represents which one? The principal represents whom you are giving. So I'm giving star here, that principal star, which means everyone. And this is for all the objects in this bucket. And again, am I giving every permission, all the permissions under actions? Only few, like read only permissions. So with this, I can grant a permission like this using bucket policies like this. Now let me save. Now I have granted public access, that anonymous user. Now am I able to access? Now using bucket policies, did I make that public again? Now here, this time I'm trying to upload one more file. This time I'm trying to upload one more file to that bucket. I'm trying to upload one more file to that bucket. Let me add one more file to that bucket. Maybe let me upload one more file to that bucket. That can be any file. Now I uploaded that file, one more file to that bucket. Now this is the object endpoint of that file. Am I able to access without making that object again public by selecting that one? So can I able to manage permissions of objects using bucket policies instead of using ACL? Instead of using ACL. So do you think which one is better? Is ACL is better or bucket policies are better? Bucket policies, right? Something like this. So based on the bucket policies, the permissions permissions will be updated for all the objects in this bucket. That's why it is recommended. Now let's consider I don't want to grant public access. I don't want to grant public access. Now at a bucket level, I will block this public access. I will block this public access. I don't want to grant public access, let's say. At a bucket level, I am disabling that public access. This block all public access, this one. Now if you see, again, is it allowed? Because at a bucket level, I block this. Is it allowed? No. Now, I don't want to block, allow for everyone. Is it possible to grant access to specific applications or specific IP addresses or specific users? Yes. I don't want to grant for everyone. I don't want to give a public access. Is it possible for granting access to specific specific IP addresses or specific applications or specific users of AWS? Yes. Again, that can be done using what? That can be done using what? Again, bucket policies. Bucket policies. If you see, I want to grant access to specific systems. If the request is coming from so and so system, if the request is coming from so and so system, then only I want to allow. So can I define a bucket policy like this? If this condition is satisfied, then only allow, otherwise don't allow. Something like this, allowing. Can I grant if the request is coming from this range, then only it will allow, otherwise don't allow. Now I can give these type of permissions also, like this. Now I have blocked the public access. Now here I can give my ARN like this, resource. Again, that is applicable for all the objects in that bucket. Now condition. Here, suppose, let me remove this not in IP address. I don't want this. Now suppose if the request is coming from this IP or range, if that request is coming to that object from this range of servers, will it allow? If I define policy like this, if I define policy like this, it will allow. Something like this. Now let me show that. Let me give, I'm trying to get my laptop IP address. My laptop IP address. So what is my IP address? I'm typing in the browser. What is my IP address? I'm typing in the browser. So this is my IP address, my laptop IP. This is my system, my laptop IP address. Now I am giving something like this. Now if the request is coming from this IP, will it allow? If I define a policy like this, so I can define a policy like this in my S3 bucket policies. In the bucket policies here, I can edit these policies. Now I am granting like this again, but here I am giving all the permissions S3 star, S3 colon star. If you don't want to grant all the permissions on S3, if you want to grant only specific permissions, again, can you give that? Instead of giving star, can you give like this, get object, whatever that, if you want to give? Yes. But here if it is given as star, which means anything done, all the permissions. Now let me save these changes. Now I have granted only for that IP. Now even though public access is denied, blocked, am I able to access those files? Again, from my system. But now, will you guys able to access from your system, your laptop or your system? Are you guys able to access? Uh, Ashish is saying right now I am able to access. Try to refresh maybe browser or try to open a private window. It might be cached. It might be cached. Open a private window or try to refresh and try once. It might be cached in the browser. So are you guys able to do that if you refresh your browser or open in a new tab, because it was cached, now it is not able to access. Now anyone, maybe whoever, just give one IP address. Anyone, maybe give your IP address. I will just add those in my bucket policies. Your laptop IP. Go to browser and type what is my IP address and give that IP. So Sai Srikar has given one IP. So I'm taking that IP. Anyone, guys, fine. Anyone is fine. Don't consider why Balaji sir is taking someone IP. Why not my IP? Just to make you understand. Don't feel bad. I'm not giving any offer here. I'm just taking one IP. So I'm taking Sai Srikar IP and just updating here like this also. I can give multiple IPs also, ranges like this, comma separated in an array. I can give multiple IPs or ranges also, or single IP like this, or range also I can give. Now I am giving Sai Srikar IP. Let me make. Now I am not able to access because I replaced my IP with Sai Srikar IP. I am not able to access, but I think Sai Srikar should be able to access now if he is refreshing. So that is how we can grant. Sai Srikar is able to access. So that is how we can grant permissions to the objects using bucket policies also. Like this, based on your requirement, will be able to give access to specific application if the request is coming from so and so application, so and so domain. Can I give access or block access? So and so domain, so and so application request is coming? Yes. So this is bucket policies. Now, is everyone clear? Permissions, what is bucket policy, what is ACL, which is recommended now, and what is S3? Now let's move on to another topic. Let's move on to another topic. What is versioning in S3? What is versioning in S3? What is versioning in S3? Now, I am uploading some objects into my S3 bucket. I am uploading some objects to my S3 bucket here. I have some objects. Suppose I updated my content of this file and again I am trying to upload. Let's consider this file content is modified, the data is updated, that file, that object is updated, and again I am trying to upload. I already have the file with same name. Again I am trying to upload the updated one, updated file. Let's say, what will happen to the previous object, previous data, that previous object or previous file? Now I am uploading again with same name. What is going to happen? By default, I already had a file. I'm trying to update again. What will happen? Is it going to replace that file by default? Yes. Does S3 will maintain? Does S3 will maintain both the versions of the file by default? Will it maintain this version, new version of the file, as well as old version of the file by default? No. Versioning. Versioning. By default, versioning is not enabled, so it is not maintaining both versions. But if I enable versioning, will it maintain previous versions of objects or files also along with the latest version of your file? If I enable versioning, if I enable versioning, will it maintain both? If I enable versioning, it will maintain all the versions of those files. But as of now, is versioning enabled? No. If required, can I enable the versioning in S3? If required, we can enable the versioning in S3. Where I can do, again, go to your S3 bucket, this bucket. Here we have a properties. Here, under properties, versioning option. If you see what is the default one as of now, disabled. Now let me enable this. Now I am enabling the versioning. Now I have enabled the versioning. Now if I try to upload, earlier if you see, earlier when I go here, it was not showing this option. Was it showing this option, show versions, before enabling the versioning? Was it showing this option when I go to this object section? Was this showing before enabling the versioning? No. Now this is showing. But just now I enabled the versioning. So I had this file already uploaded. Is it maintained that file because just now I enabled the versioning? So it was not having the other file. Now after enabling the versioning, if I try to upload updated data, updated object, programmatically, manually, whatever it is, any application is uploading file to S3 with same name, is it maintaining multiple versions now? Now if I go here, if I go show versions, do I have a two versions of this file? This is the previous version and this is the latest version. Just now it is updated. Like this, if I keep uploading any file, is it going to maintain all the versions of that file? Maybe this file also, or maybe another time this file, whatever it is. Do you see all the versions of that files? Now this one, and again this one, latest version, like this. So can I enable versioning and maintain all the versions of my objects? Objects are nothing but data files. Yes, that is what versioning. That is what versioning in ES3. We already discussed about permissions, and also versioning. Now we will be accessing latest version, right? So someone is asking, now this is my object. Now if I, this URL, that will always point to which version? This will always point to which version? This object URL always point to latest version, because I don't have a permissions, so I am not able to see. Now if I delete this one, let's consider I am going to delete this object. Is it going to point to this one, that object endpoint? If I delete this one, it is going to point to this one. Because I am deleting this one, it is going to point to this one. So if I am going to delete this one again, it is going to point to this one. So object endpoints will be pointed to the latest version. That URL will be pointed to the latest version, whatever is available. That is how it works. Okay? Does S3 don't care about the content, only about the file? Content it don't care. Not only S3. In your normal laptop also you are having a hard disk. You are trying to copy paste. Does your hard disk care what content you have in the file? Your storage cares what content you have in the file. You are trying to replace, copy, paste. What it does? It will override, right? It will replace. S3 is one storage, but object storage. I no need to mount, I can access from anywhere. Now we discussed about permissions. Under permissions you have ACL and what is the one more concept? Bucket policies. Now versioning. Versioning. Now here there is a one more concept called storage classes. There is a one more concept called storage classes and object lifecycle. Object lifecycle rules. Object lifecycle rules are storage class and also object lifecycle rules. So what is the storage classes? As I already told, on which basis charges will be applicable? Again, one more question, guys. Does charges is applicable for previous versions also? Suppose if I have enabled versioning, is it going to apply charges for all the versions also? Yes. Again, for all the versions also, it is going to charge. Now, on which basis the charges will be applicable? Based on the what? Based on the size of object and based on in which storage class that object is maintained or stored. So we have some storage classes. We have standard storage. We have standard storage. We have standard IA, infrequent access. IA stands for infrequent access. Like this RRS, Glacier. Like this, we have some storage classes. So what is the standard storage? What type of data we need to maintain standard storage? And what is the default storage class? Whenever I am uploading any object to S3, what is the default storage class? In which storage class object is getting stored? Standard storage. Now, what type of data we can maintain in a standard storage? The data which you are trying to access very frequently, we can maintain in a standard storage. The data which we are trying to access very frequently, which we can maintain in a standard storage. So will I have a better availability and durability if I'm maintaining data in a standard storage class? Availability, your data can be accessed anytime, and durability, you will not have a data loss. Because if it is a standard storage, in the background, is it going to be maintained as a multiple copies in multiple availability zones? That object? Yes. Now standard IA or IA, we call it as a IA or standard IA. What is that IA stands for? Infrequent access. Infrequent access. So if you are trying to access some data, maybe your clients, your end users, or your applications are trying to access some data, but which is not frequently. So can I maintain those type of data in a IA, standard IA or IA, infrequent access? Yes. So the charges will be little less. The charges will be little less compared to the standard, but you may have a latencies. like maybe you are not able to access as quick as possible whatever way you are accessing in standard. So if you are having some data which you are not accessing frequently, can I maintain in a IA, infrequent access? Yes. So we have one more thing, RRS, or we call it as a one zone IA or one zone IA. So RRS or one zone IA, different names are there. So what is the meaning of one zone or RRS? What is the full form of RRS? RRS, reduced redundancy, reduced redundancy storage. What is the meaning of reduced redundancy? The name itself, it is saying reduced redundancy. There is a chance that you may lose the data. You may not able to access the data, but very less percentage, guys. AWS will say 99 point, how many nines they are saying? S3 is highly available. 99.9999, 11 nines, 11 nines here. They will say 99.99999% is highly available and accessible. But if I am maintaining in RRS, reduced redundancy storage, is there a possibility that you may lose the data? Small number of percentage? Yes, because the name itself it is saying RRS, reduced redundancy storage. So what type of data I can maintain in RRS? What type of data I can maintain in RRS? Can I maintain non-critical? Non-critical. The data is not critical data, important data. Can I maintain non-critical, non-critical and reproducible data? Non-critical data and reproducible data, which means the data is not critical data, even though I lost, fine. And also, I should be able to reproduce. I mean to say, I should be able to get the data again, even though I lost. So can I maintain that type of data, non-critical and reproducible data in RRS? Yes. Based on your use case, based on your requirement, you will do that. Based on your use case, based on your requirement, you will have objects in these storage classes. Now we have a glacier. What is glacier? What type of data I can maintain in glacier? I can maintain archival data. Archival data in glacier with very less storage charges. What is the meaning of archival data? Archival data or historical data. Let's say I want to maintain last 10 years of my application log files for auditing purpose. For auditing purpose, for auditing purpose, I want to maintain last 10 years of log files for auditing purpose. But are we going to access those last 10 years of log files very frequently, daily, monthly, or weekly? You are going to access and see the data that logs? No. But for auditing purpose, I want to maintain all the last 10 years of log files. If I maintain that in a standard or IA, is the charges will be very high? Yes. So can I have those type of archival data, compressed data, which I want to maintain for with very less cost? I can go for a glacier. With very less charges, we can maintain. But when they are going to apply the charges, when you are retrieving the data, when you are accessing the data from glacier again, they will apply you a charges, and also it will take some lot of time also to retrieve the data from glacier. So these are the kind of a storage classes we have. Now, if I go to this S3, if you see what is the storage class as of now, These objects are there. Standard. Now let's consider I am not accessing this one very frequently. So can I make this into Glacier? Can I make this into IA based on your requirement? Yes. So how can I do that? I can select this one. I can select this one. I can go to this actions. Do I have an option to change storage class? One second. Let me select this one, that object. Let me select that object. I'll select this object completely. Here, object actions. Do I have an option to here edit storage class? Here I have an option to edit the storage class. I can change the storage class. Guys, not only from GUI, from CLI, from API also, will you able to change storage classes of your objects? Yes. Now here, one zone IA, that one zone IA is nothing but RRS or redundant. There is a separate kind of redundancy, reduced redundancy, standard, one zone IA, standard IA. If I am maintaining in one zone IA, in how many availability zones the data, that object will be maintained and stored? If you see one zone IA, only one availability zone. So infrequent, again infrequent, three availability zones, but you will have a some limited performance. Standard, three availability zones. This standard is designed for what type of data? You are frequently accessing data within a milliseconds. Within a milliseconds, you can access the data. Now, like this, you have a lot of things. I have a Glacier, reduced redundancy, all these things. I can change the storage class here. But if I have a hundreds of objects, is it possible for me to manually change the storage class of each object again? No. And also I have a requirement. Whenever I am uploading object, let's say I am uploading object today, after 90 days of uploading, I want to delete that object permanently. I want to delete that object permanently from 90 days of today. Today I have uploaded one file. From today, after 90 days, that object should be deleted, or within next 30 days, it has to be moved to different storage class. I have these type of requirements. Will I able to manually manage all those things if I have hundreds of objects? No. So that is where we have a one more concept in S3. We call it as object life cycle rules. Object life cycle rule. So by creating a object life cycle rule, can I transit the objects? Can I transit the objects? Transit in the sense, can I move the objects from one storage class to another storage class? Transit is nothing but moving. When you are traveling, you will say, right, I am in transit. Transit is nothing but moving. So by creating an object lifecycle rule, can I transit objects from one storage class to another storage class? And also, can I set a expiration also for my objects? Expiration in the sense deletion. Automatically, it can delete. But who will take care if I create an object lifecycle rule? Who will take care? Does AWS will take care of moving the objects, deleting the objects based on your object lifecycle rule? Yes, that will be taken care by AWS. So here again, under management it comes. Under management of that S3 bucket, under management of this S3 bucket, do I have an option of lifecycle rules? So here, as of now, do I have any lifecycle rules created for this bucket? Object lifecycle? Bucket policy is different, object lifecycle is different. Bucket policies is all about what? Bucket policies is all about permissions. Permissions. This lifecycle rules is all about what? Transiting, moving the objects from one storage class to another storage class, or deleting those objects automatically based on the rule. So I don't have any lifecycle rule. Let me create a lifecycle rule. Here I can give anything, any name. I can give that name, bucket name, this name, something like this, object lifecycle, something like this, any name. Now I am creating a lifecycle rule, but here the scope of this rule, the scope for which objects this rule is applicable. Whatever rule I am creating, this rule is applicable for which objects, which files. That is what the scope here. Now if you see, there are two options: apply to all the objects in the bucket. If I select this one, whatever rule I am creating, this lifecycle rule, will it be applicable for all the objects, all the files in this bucket? Whatever we have, is this rule? Yes. If I select this one, but if I want to limit to only few files, can I use this option, limit the scope of this rule using one or more filters? I don't want to apply this rule for all the objects, only few objects. Here, what is the option we have? I can use prefix or I can use tags. I can use prefix or I can use tags. What is the meaning of prefix? Suppose if I give something like this, dev as a prefix. Any file, I mean to say any object has a prefix with this name. Is this rule will be applicable for all the files, all the objects that has a prefix with this name, dev? Something like this. Yes. This is based on the prefix. If you don't want to use our prefix, can I use tags concept? Each object, each file also, for each object also, can I add the tags, AWS tags? The way we are adding tags to the servers, can I add the tags to the objects also in S3 bucket? Yes. So can I use those tags? If I say whatever object has this tag, something like this. So if I add something like this, so is this rule will be applicable for this one? Whatever object has a tag with name and value as logo, Mithun Tech logo, you can use prefix also or tag also, both. So in that case, if I have any file without this prefix and without this tag, will this rule will be applicable? This lifecycle rule will be applicable for those objects? No. Now if I want to apply for everyone, every object, can I select this option? Instead of doing like this, I can select this option, apply to all objects in this bucket, acknowledge. Now the scope of this is all the objects. Now rules. Now here, move current versions to the different storage class, move non-current versions to the different storage class, delete current versions, delete previous versions, like this we have. Now if I select this one, move current version objects. Now let's say standard IA, I want to move to the standard IA after 30 days, which means today I uploaded one file. After 30 days from today, does AWS will move to standard IA automatically? Whatever file I uploaded today, after 30 days, will it move to IA, that standard IA? If this is the rule, current object. Yes. Can I directly move to Glacier also if required? Glacier. Instead of going step by step, like first IA, then RRS, then Glacier, can I directly move to Glacier also if required? Yes, based on your requirement. But here, Minimum how many days that object has to be in a standard storage class? Can I move immediately like one day? Today I created object. By tomorrow, will I able to move that object to different storage class? If I create a rule like this, will it throw error? Earlier it was throwing error, guys. I think somehow they have disabled that one. When I was teaching last batch also, minimum there was a rule, 30 days rule, but now I think it is allowed. They have removed that restriction. When I was teaching 15 days back also, we had that issue. I mean to say not an issue, restriction. So there was a 30 days restriction, but now they are allowed anytime, which means whatever files I uploaded today, if I come tomorrow, will it be in this storage class? Will I come, if I come and verify, it will be in this storage class. I think they removed that restriction. Earlier, minimum 30 days we had to maintain. Okay, there. But now let's see. Okay, Glacier, for Glacier there is no restriction, but standard IA, do I have a restriction? If you see here itself, they're saying, do I have a restriction? If I want to move to standard IA, how many days minimum it has to be in standard first? There is a restriction in standard, 30 days. Now if I create a rule like this, will it allow? No. But for Glacier, there is no restriction. But if you want to move to standard IA, I can define like this, 30 days, which means from today, after 30 days, does it will be moved to this storage class? Yes. Now, let's say I want to move it to RRS, reduced redundancy, that one zone IA. Can I move it to 60 days? After 60 days, if required, can I move it to like this? Yes. Based on your requirement, you can move this. This is only for the current versions. Suppose I have previous versions. Is this transition will do for the previous version of objects? No. So if I need to do that, do I need to select this option also? Move non-current versions. Move non-current versions. So this one is for non-current version. So can I move to this one? Something like this. After 30 days, the day it become non-current, after 30 days, it will move to this storage class. And here, do I have the retention option also? Like how many versions of previous objects to be maintained? Let's say if I say 5, even though I have lot of times I am uploading same file, updated file, is it going to maintain only last 5 files, last 5 versions of the files? If I say something like this, it will not maintain more than last 5 versions. Like this we can define for non-current. For non-current. Now suppose I want to delete permanently current and non-current. Can I say something like this? 360 days or 3 whatever based on your requirement. 360 days or 200 days, like this. So something like this. If I define after 360 days, is it going to delete those objects irrespective of in which storage class it has? Yes. So if I create a policy like this, is AWS is going to do the transit and delete based on this policy? Yes. So this is object lifecycle rule. Is everyone clear? What is object lifecycle rule? What is storage classes? Sometimes in the interview they are asking, if you are more on a AWS side, if the JD, if the requirement is more on AWS side, they are looking like a AWS administrators who can manage the infrastructure. They may ask more questions, but as a DevOps engineer also, sometimes they'll ask these questions. This is object lifecycle rule. Now, one more concept is there, the last concept, replication. excuse me guys, replication. So what is this replication or replication rules? What is replication in S3? In general, what is replication guys? Forget about S3. What is replication? Replication or replica. Replication or replica. It's a duplicate, duplicate or copy, exact same copy. Duplicate or copy. So in S3 also there is a concept of replication, which means will I able to replicate my S3 bucket in another bucket if required? Whatever objects I am uploading to this S3 bucket, will I able to replicate these objects in another bucket? Duplicate, duplication. Yes. So we can do the replication in S3. Replication is nothing but copy, exact copy of this S3 bucket in another location or same location. So we can do the replication in S3. Sometimes in the interview they'll ask, can we replicate S3 bucket to another region? Can we replicate S3 bucket to another region? Which means as of now, where is my S3 bucket guys? This S3 bucket is in which region? Whatever bucket I have, in which region it has? Mumbai. So I want to replicate this bucket. I want to create a replication, exact copy of this bucket. Is it possible to replicate that bucket in another region? The source bucket is in Mumbai. Can I create a replication bucket in Singapore, US, wherever I want to do? Yes, we can do that. And also, if required, can we replicate S3 bucket to another account, same region or different region? Another account. What is the meaning of another account? So I own this S3 bucket. Can I create a replication for this bucket in another AWS account? Maybe Narayan account or someone else account. Exact replication of this one. Yes, we can do that one also. So replication can be done. Same account, same region. Same account, same region. Same account, different region. Different account, same region. Different account, different region. Is everyone clear? These four possibilities: same account, same region, same account, different region, different account, same region, different account, different region. It's a regional level service, guys. Forget about availability zones. Availability zone is within the region. S3 is a regional level service, not a zone level service. It's a regional level service. So any region. Now, this is my source bucket. By going to the management, can I create a replication rule? The way we have created a life cycle rule, do I have one more option to create a replication rule here? If I create a replication rule, does AWS is going to replicate whatever files you are uploading to this bucket? Will it replicate to another bucket? Whatever you are going to select in the replication rule, whatever files you are uploading to this bucket, if I have a replication rule, is it going to replicate these files whenever you are uploading to this bucket? Is it going to replicate to another bucket automatically if I have a replication rule created? Yes. But is it mandatory to create a replication rule, guys? Or unless until you have a requirement? Unless until you have a requirement, then only you will create. Anything, bucket policy, life cycle, this replication, I'm just explaining all the concept. But in real time, are you going to create? Since I have explained all these things in the class, you open my recording. Are you going to do whatever I am doing in your actual S3 bucket also by opening Mithun Technologies S3 recording? No, don't do that. So based on the requirement, based on the use case, then only you will create. Otherwise, don't create. We are just explaining all the concepts of S3. If you have any requirement, you got a requirement to create a life cycle rule, create a rule based on the understanding of whatever you learned. Right? Similarly, replication also. As of now, do I have any replication rule here in this S3? No. Now I can create a replication rule. But before creating a replication rule, do I need one bucket, that destination bucket, that can be in same account or that can be in a different account? I need. So let me replicate in same account. Let me replicate in same account. First, I will create one bucket. I am going back to S3. I am creating one bucket. Now I am saying something like this. Something like this. Destination bucket, some name. Now, can it be in different region also? Instead of Mumbai, my source is in Mumbai. Can I replicate this in any region like this? Singapore also. The destination bucket can be in Singapore region also. In the Singapore region also, I am creating a bucket. But the prerequisite for replication, sometimes in the interview also they'll ask, what is the prerequisite for replication? Anyone has any idea? The versioning should be enabled. In which bucket? Both buckets. Source bucket as well as destination bucket. In the both buckets, versioning should be enabled. So did I already enabled versioning in the source bucket when I was explaining what is versioning? For now, let's say I am not enabling. For now, let's say I am not enabling. It is disabled only. In the destination bucket, I am creating a bucket. Underscore is not allowed. Let me use hyphen. So I created a destination bucket without versioning enabled. Now this is my source bucket. Can I replicate this one to this one by going to this bucket? By going to this bucket, I can go to management. I can create a replication rule. Now when I'm creating replication rule, let's say I'm giving some name. Some name, replication. Now that replication also can be enabled and disabled. If I disable, even though I have a replication, does S3 will copy the files? Does S3 will replicate files from source to destination? No. So I'm enabling the status. Now destination, we will select. This is the source bucket. Again, scope. What is the scope of this replication? Whether you want to replicate all the objects in that bucket, whatever you are getting uploaded, you want to upload all the objects, or you want to limit the scope. Again, can I use this prefix and tags concept for replication also? What files to be replicated? Yes. Now I will select again this only, apply for all the objects. Now destination. If you see the destination option, do I have option to choose the bucket in this account? Same account. Destination bucket in the same account. If it is the same account, can I browse here? Can I browse? Clicking on this browse button, I can select this one. If it is the same account. If it is a different account, what needs to be given here? If it is a different account, what needs to be given here? The destination is in different account. The AWS account ID. Another AWS account ID. Does each AWS will have account ID, guys? Each account in AWS. You can see here in the top right corner. What is this? 12-digit ID, like Aadhaar ID. This is Like Aadhaar ID, this is account ID, AWS account ID, unique ID. So if I want to replicate in someone else's account, do I need this account ID here? I have to paste, and the bucket name. The bucket name also I need to give here. But at the same time, that other account need to grant the permissions. The other account needs to grant the permissions. He has to allow to replicate. Without he is allowing, will I able to replicate again in his account? No. So he has to allow that. But in the same account, I am replicating by choosing this option. I am selecting this as a destination. Source is in Mumbai, destination in Singapore. If you see, is it giving a warning here? The moment I select this destination bucket, what it is trying to say? What is it is trying to say? Enable versioning. Did I enable versioning here in the destination bucket when I created? No. So that's why it is giving warning. If required, can I do it from here itself by clicking on this button, enable bucket versioning in this bucket? Yes, I'm clicking on this one. Versioning is enabled. Now, AWS is going to replicate. AWS is going to replicate from source to destination. Does AWS require some permissions on behalf of you? It is performing some operation. Does AWS requires permissions to do on behalf of you that replication? Yes. So for that one IAM role is required. One IAM role is required. One IAM role is required. So that IAM role should have a permissions. What permissions? S3 permissions. Within your account also AWS is doing. You need to grant permissions, S3 permissions, so that it can replicate. If you want to, you ask AWS to create the role itself. This new role option. So AWS will create a new role with required permissions, and AWS will use that role to replicate. With all these things, I am creating a replication. With all these things, I am creating a replication rule. Now, do I have a replication rule in this Mumbai bucket? Yes. Now, if you see, recently they have introduced this option. Recently they have introduced this option. Earlier we don't had this option. What is this option? Earlier we don't had this one. I already uploaded lot of files to the Mumbai bucket. If I replicate a rule, if I create a rule now, will it replicate whatever files we already uploaded before creating a replication? Earlier, I have three files already uploaded in Mumbai. Is it replicates all the existing files after creating a replication? Now I am creating a replication, so it is not going to replicate. But now recently they introduced this option. Now they are saying replicate exist. Do not replicate existing bucket. Yes, replicate existing bucket. Existing object, sorry. Now if I select this option, I already have some objects in Mumbai. Is it going to replicate to the destination even though I create replication now? Yes. This feature is recently introduced, but not sure whether it is working or not. When I have done this in the last session, it was not replicating even though I have selected this option, it was not replicating when I explained in the last class. Because this is a new feature introduced by AWS. If that is not working, we have to contact AWS. I have selected this one, but it is not replicating. So let me try this. I want to replicate existing objects. Now after some time, click on save. One second. Creating a batch of operations. Why this is coming? This is for report. I don't want to generate a report. The replication report I don't want to generate. Whether that replication has been done successfully or not, I don't want to generate a report. So I unselected that option. Now let me click on save. I don't want to generate a report for now. I click on save. Now the replication rule is created by selecting an option replicate existing objects. Now there is a replication rule. Now after some time, if everything goes fine, can I see whatever files I have in Mumbai region? These 3 files will be replicated here in the destination bucket. After some time, if everything goes well, without doing anything, if I refresh here, will I able to see if that feature works? Replicate existing object feature works. Here I have some objects that I can see in the destination if everything goes smooth. It will take some time. Let me go to this Mumbai. Let me go to management. This replication is enabled. It is enabled. This replication is enabled. Now let me see after some time if that feature is going to work, it may replicate. Now do you see, is it replicating? Now do you see all these 3 files got replicated to destination also automatically, whatever I have in the source? Yes. Now any file after this also, if I upload any file, I am uploading some other objects to this source Mumbai. I am uploading some object to the source Mumbai. Any file, will these files will be replicated in the destination? This file I recently uploaded just now, since I have a replication, is that going to be replicated in destination also? Whatever I upload in this Mumbai source, if I go to this destination, can I see that after some time? If I keep refreshing here, after some time you can see that in the destination also. Can I see now? Is it replicated in this destination bucket? Yes. Now if I delete something in Mumbai, is it going to delete in Singapore? I'm deleting this in Mumbai source bucket. Is it going to delete in that destination bucket? Is it going to delete in the destination bucket? Whatever I have deleted in source bucket, is it going to delete in destination bucket? If you keep refreshing, if you observe here, is it deleted or is it going to delete? Is it going to delete? If you keep refreshing also, no, it is not going to be deleted. Only copy, no delete in the replication bucket. So replication is copy, kind of a backup, kind of a copy, kind of a backup. Only it will copy whatever files are getting uploaded, not going to be deleted. Is everyone clear what is replication and how it works? In the interview also, sometimes they are going to ask all these questions. Can we replicate S3 in another region, same account, different account? And also what is the, how many buckets we can create by default? How many buckets can be created by default? Default 100 buckets. It's a soft limit again. As I told, it's a soft limit. What is the meaning of soft limit? Can I increase this limit by raising a quota request with AWS? Yes. And what is the max file size? Max file size of S3 in S3? 5 TB. Don't get confused. 5 TB. 16 TB is for what? 16 TB is for what? 16 TB is EBS capacity. The total EBS capacity. That is not a file capacity. Total EBS capacity. But S3, do I have any capacity, like any limit for S3 bucket? No, there is no limit for S3 bucket. But individual files in that bucket, what is the file size, max file size which I can upload in S3? 5 TB. If I have hundreds of files, thousands of files, if the file size is less than 5 TB, will I able to upload all those files to S3? Yes. So that's why don't get confused. Don't get confused. Small questions only, you may mess up in the interview. Don't consider this as a everyday kind of a bodha for you. I see people are attending morning 80 people are there, but before I reach 8:30 itself, it came to 60. Now I am discussing lot of things like versioning, bucket policies, replication. If you are going through the recordings and practicing, no issues. But without going through the recordings, if you appear for interview, if they ask in the interview, what is replication? Can we replicate same account, different account? Then you will not able to answer. So don't consider this as a Gita, like, Bodha. Try to understand why we are saying. Each class, each session, each topic is important when it comes to the interview or when it comes to the working. Can we open multiple objects at a time using single URL? No. Each object will have its own URL. Guys, you are sharing kind of a object, each object individually. There is no single URL which will access multiple files. So this is all about S3, guys. Okay, whatever we discussed. Now there is a one more service called Snowball. Sometimes in the interview they will ask what is Snowball in AWS. What is this Snowball? Is it a snow and a ball? Sometimes in the interview they'll ask this one also, what is Snowball? Now let's take one use case. Let's take one use case. I have my applications running in my own data center on-prem. So all my applications, everything is running in my own data center, my own servers. Now I want to migrate my servers from on-premise to cloud. I want to migrate my servers. I mean to say my applications. Servers in the sense, you are not going to move your servers to AWS data center. Migration or moving is nothing but what? You are moving you are moving only the data of that application. Only the data of that application, not servers, right? So application data, your data. So all my applications are running in my own data center. I don't want to manage my data center. Lot of maintenance, lot of infrastructure charges is happening. I am not able to achieve lot of features. I decided I want to migrate my application from on-prem to cloud. You have a petabytes of data, petabytes, not even terabytes. You have a petabytes of data. Now, is it easy to migrate, basically copy your data from your on-premise servers to the cloud? You have a petabytes of data. Will you able to do quickly, safe or securely over network? It will take very longer time, and your data will be transferred over internet. Over internet, you are copying your data from one server, your on-prem server, to the cloud storages. Not secure also. You can use some security mechanisms also they are offering. Even though you are using some security mechanisms, will it take huge time if you want to transfer the data over network? Yes. So that is where AWS is offering one device. Instead of service, I would like to call this as a device, Snowball device. It's a physical data transport solution. It looks like this. It looks like this. AWS Snowball. It looks like this. This is a physical device. Physical device. So If I raise a ticket, I mean to say kind of a job, I can create a snowball job in my AWS account. So here I can go to snowball, I can go to snowball, AWS snow family, snowball. So here I can raise one kind of a job. I can create a job, AWS snowball. So you can say where you want to import the data using snowball. So they will send one device to you, or they will physically come to your data center. The AWS team or the vendors of AWS who is responsible or who is working on behalf of AWS, they will physically come to your data center like this with this device, like this with the device. So they will connect the device, that snowball device, to your network in your data center. To your network, they will connect the device. Then they will copy all the data from your server storage to that device. Then physically they will move the device back to the AWS cloud, nearby AWS data centers. Then whatever data you have in that snowball, where you want to import, can I import to the S3 bucket? Once it is in S3, if required, can I get the data from S3 to my EC2 instances also by installing AWS CLI? In my EC2 instance, can I download whatever files is there in S3, which is copied by Snowball to the S3? Migration, migration process. So where you want to export, whether you want to import to S3 or export to S3 or local storage, like this, there are options. If I create a job like this, they will send a device like this to your data center. Can I use snowball for reverse also? Can I do it for a reverse purpose? Which means I already have applications in my cloud, AWS. I don't want to use cloud. Is it possible to migrate my workloads from cloud to my own data centers by again using snowball? I can copy all my data to the snowball. That snowball again I will bring back to data center and copy. Vice versa, both cases. Now it's a physical data transport solution which is used to transfer petabytes of data to on-prem to cloud or cloud to on-prem. This is a physical device. There is a truck also, guys. Snowball truck. So it will be physically transferred over physical locations like this. So there is a truck. So the truck will have all those devices. They will transfer that devices physically from data center to the cloud, cloud to the data center. This is for physical data transport solution. Is everyone clear what is AWS Snowball, how it functions, why it required? But this is more on a AWS side, guys. But even though this is a DevOps course, I am trying to cover whatever services is listed as part of our syllabus. I am trying to cover in and out of all these services. Even though it's not a AWS course, but it is more on AWS side, but it will be beneficial. In the interviews, you can perform well. In your job also, you can prove if you have these type of things. Is everyone clear? What are the storage services we have in AWS? EBS, EFS, S3, and Snowball. Now there is a one more service called RDS. What is RDS? This RDS also kind of a data. We can store the data, but this RDS is basically database, managed database, managed database. But is this RDS is internally going to use storages like EBS internally? Yes. But instead of you are setting up the server, and you are installing database, you are maintaining database upgrades, backups, high availability of database, who will manage database on behalf of you? If I go for RDS, AWS. If I don't go with RDS, can I go with EC2? EC2, can I install database on my own EC2 instance myself? Can I use EBS to store that database data myself? I have to do all these configurations. So this is altogether a different service. So this is all about storage. The next very important concept is networking. So I thought of starting today, but it took some time to discuss about S3 itself. Networking, what is that VPC? I'll continue tomorrow, guys. Tomorrow also we have a class. I'll continue tomorrow. Saturday also we have a class. Tomorrow and Saturday we have a class. I'll continue tomorrow and Saturday on this VPC. No holiday, no holiday. Tomorrow also class is there. Just 1.5 hour, guys. Even though I celebrate Holi, just 1.5 hour. I need to spend the time with my family, kids, but again, office is also holiday tomorrow. But still, we need to work little hard, right, to make progress. So tomorrow and Saturday also we have class, but next Saturday and Sunday I will give off. Anyhow, Sunday no classes, but next Saturday, that is March 25th, I think. So March 25th, next Saturday holiday, because you can practice on Saturday and Sunday, whatever we are discussing. But here only theory more, labs less. How many AWS classes? VPC may take one or maybe two classes. VPC, two classes. ELB, three classes. Auto scaling, one class. IAM and CLI, one class. But this ECR and EKS, we are not going to discuss now. It is related to containers and Kubernetes. So this ECR, when we discuss Docker, we will discuss ECR. When we discuss Kubernetes, we will discuss this EKS. Not now. So this many, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 classes is left. So today is what? 8th class, huh? 8th class of AWS, right? I think. So total 15 classes, but again these two we will discuss again, but not now. This ECR and EKS. Okay, we are trying to cover whatever services we have committed in and out of it. You need to attend all the sessions, practice and do the assignments so that you will become an expert. Okay, but if you don't do any effort from your side, whatever I am discussing here, it is of no use. Okay, thank you. I'll continue tomorrow on VPC.